to talk about is how, if you are an HR leader, you can be a really successful HR leader. What differentiates the best HR leaders going forward? And some of you might not be in HR, you might be vendors, you might be outside of HR. I'm going to guess you're going to pick up a few good hints today as well. So I have had the good opportunity to have real jobs in HR. I used to be with companies like Avon Products and Bank of America, but more recently, I spend my time advising the world's top companies, governments, foundations, not-for-profits. I also, though, get to see a lot of people like you every year in our Talent Management Institute, where companies come to try to become better at talent building. In fact, we have a session in Singapore in November, if you're interested. But then I try to stay really sharp in the science of human performance, including how we as HR leaders can be great, and I do that in my books. So that's a little bit about where I get my ideas from. Today, we're going to cover two things. We're going to hit lightly on what is a high performer's mindset. A high performer's mindset is the foundation for being good in HR. And then we're also going to talk about what are the 3 differentiators of great HR leaders. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. First, the most common question that you get in a presentation is, can we have the slides? Yes, you can have the slides. They're right there. I'll show this at the end as well. So this will be the most exciting part. You get the slides. I'll give you 10 seconds to do that. Hopefully our servers won't crash back at home. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's get started. Where do the ideas come from that I'll share today? They come from, first, we do a lot of research, just like the good folks at People Matters. We did a piece of research last year called the HR Census, when we asked about all of you. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you in the profession? What do you like doing? What do you not like doing? I get to see great clients every year. I've learned from them. I mentioned the Talent Management Institute, and I've sat in many of your chairs, so I understand the practical nature of what we're dealing with today. Everything that we do, whether you're in HR, outside of HR, if you want to differentiate yourself in your field, it starts by having a high performer's mindset. That means 3 things. First, high performers tend to work more than others. Now, that should not be a controversial statement, but post-COVID, we get some pushback on that. But I will tell you, people who put in more hours tend to position themselves for higher performance. Higher performers, those who have a high performance mindset, recognize they might need to sacrifice some time that they would like to be doing other things to spend time at work, because they're willing to invest. That doesn't mean they always do that, but they make the choice sometimes to do that. And high performers understand that life is relative. There is always somebody competing with you. There's always someone trying to be better than you. And so even if I had a great year, let's say I sold 120% of my goals, maybe one of you sold 140%, somebody else sold 160%, we all overachieved, but I'm the lowest performer in the group. So performance is always relative. Unless we have that high performer's mindset, we don't have the foundation to do the other things that I'm talking about. But we asked about this question in our most recent research. We asked, are you willing to sacrifice some areas of your life in order to be successful in your career? What did we see? Well, on the area around disagreeing, about 40% of people said, nope, I am not. And that number is up 8% from our last survey in 2019. Other side of the aisle, about 57%. So almost half of HR leaders in this survey said, no, I am actually not willing to sacrifice. No, that's an okay choice if you want to make it. There's nothing wrong with that. But it also says you might not be positioning yourself to be a high performer. Okay, let's talk about the 3 things that differentiate. We're going to talk about knowing the business, but also loving the business. Knowing and loving the business. We're going to talk about influencing through relationships. Successful people influence well, and they tend to do that based on the strength of the relationships they have built, and we're going to talk about how do you build better talent faster. Are you skilled at building better talent faster, whether it's within your own team or within your company? Let's start here, knowing and loving the business. This seems so simple that what we should be thinking about in terms of focusing our day-to-day activities is, what does the CEO need to get done this year? And then what am I going to do because of that? It should be as easy as, hey, Mr. CEO, Miss CEO, because you are trying to do this, I am going to do that. This is the elevator speech. When the CEO catches you in the elevator and says, what are you working on right now? You don't say things like, oh, we bought some new technology, that's fun. Or there's some best practice stuff we're doing. Or we had some money left over in the budget, so we're spending it on this. You say, because you are trying to achieve this, I am focused on that. That sounds incredibly basic. But here's the challenge. That is an easier conversation to have if we care about the company's success, if we care about our company being financially successful. One of the questions that we asked was, is one of the primary reasons that you are in HR, is that to help your company be financially successful? Now, fortunately, when we asked CHROs, about 80% said yes. I would like to see 100%, but I will take 80%. But what about below CHRO? What do you think the percentage was there? Shout some numbers out for me. What do you think the numbers were there? 50? Louder? 40? Not even half. Not even half of the people below CHRO said that they are in HR in order to help their company be financially successful. Now, what that means is you're probably, if you're in that group, you're probably not always thinking about what is the business trying to achieve right now and how do I help? So we're going to do some self-assessments and I'm going to give you some coaching. I would like you to do a quick self-assessment, 1 to 5 scale. 5 is, this statement completely describes me. 1 is, this does not describe me at all. 1 to 5 scale. First, I know my business as well as our CEO or CFO. Not that you have all the same information they have, but you understand how your business works. You understand how you make things, how you sell things, how you interact with customers, the challenges in your industry. So I want you to do a little quick self-assessment, 1 to 5 scale on that. And then, perhaps a more challenging question, I truly love the business that I am in. I truly love the business that I am in. Does that completely describe you, somewhat describe you, not describe you at all? I think, and gather this data, we'll have some more questions for you as we go along. That is a key question, because if you don't love the business you're in, if you're not passionate and excited and engaged by the business you're in, it's going to be very difficult for you to align, here's what we're trying to do, to what am I focused on. So 2 pieces of homework for you. If you said I am not a 4 or a 5 on knowing the business as well as the CEO or CFO, I would like you to do a few things. By next Friday, 7 days, I want you to learn your company strategy. Now, if you're a public company, go on your website, there's probably great information. If you're a private company, ask your CFO, ask your strategy person, and just say, I want to be a little more sharp about our strategy. Is there some information that I can read to learn more about what we're trying to achieve? Most of the time you can get that. So that's step 1. Next is, you're going to read that strategy and you're going to say, given my job, what are the 3 things that I should be doing to best support that strategy? I don't care what your goals are right now. What are the 3 things, given that I've read that strategy, I understand that strategy, what should I be working on? And then I want you to compare those to the goals that you set for yourself back in December or January or February for the year, and modify those goals if you need to make sure that what you are working on perfectly aligns with what you now understand are the few most important things you can do. So if you said you don't know the business well, you're going to understand that strategy. You're going to identify the 3 things that matter most. You're going to compare your goals to those and change your goals if you think you can do a better job supporting that strategy. If you said, I'm not sure I love the business that I'm in, but I'm willing to find out and try. If the business comes to you and says, I'm feeling a little bit distanced from you, can you show me that you love me? Here's what you can do to show the business that you love it. Within 90 days, I'm giving you 3 months. Within 90 days, I want you to do a ride-along visit with somebody who's in sales or business development. Almost every organization sells something, whether you go on a virtual call, whether you go on a sales call, whether you visit a customer with them. Get yourself in front of that customer to understand what do they really need, what drives them, what are their worries, how can your business better meet their needs. The only way to find that out is to sit across that table and say, what's going on in your company? That's the first thing you're going to do. The second thing, I want you to sponsor a lunch and learn with a business leader who can teach whatever group you're in more about their group. Invite your marketing head, invite your finance head, invite your supply chain head, operations head. I don't care who it is, but invite one business leader to come to a lunch and learn that you sponsor just to teach people more about the area that they work in. And finally, I want you individually to set up 3 meetings. I want you to invite 3 business leaders who you don't know their area to have a cup of coffee or a lunch or a virtual coffee or virtual lunch. You're going to say, hey Susie, hey Bob, I would love to buy you a cup of coffee because I'm really curious about digital marketing, supply chain, wherever they do, and say, are you willing to have a cup of coffee with me? I guarantee you they'll be more than happy to spend time, and at the end of those 3 conversations, you are going to know far more about the business than you ever did. So if you say, I'm not sure I love the business, immerse yourself in the business. Go on that sales call to hear customers. Listen to business leaders about what they do. Have those one-on-one conversations to help you understand more about how the business actually operates at a more granular level. Okay, that's just the first one. You're going to become even better at influencing through relationships. Here's the good news. I mentioned that I try to stay sharp in the science of human performance. My most recent book, 8 Steps to High Performance, looked at what is conclusively proven to make us higher performers at work. One of the findings is that the strength of your relationships influences your ability to influence other people. Here's the first place you should start. The science is clear. The relationship with your boss is the single most important relationship you have at work. The single most important relationship you have at work. Now, it may surprise you to also hear that bosses are people. They're people just like us. They like interacting with people. They like having conversations with people. They like being asked about how their weekend was like other people. Building the strength of your relationship with your boss is the single most important thing you can do. In fact, the science even says things like people who have a better relationship with their boss tend to get higher performance reviews even if they're underperformers. Now, that's not a good long-term strategy, but it does suggest there's a lot of power to that. Your peers are the second place to focus. Your peers cannot get you promoted, but they can stop you from getting promoted. So here's an exercise that I would like you to do. If your peers are sitting next to you, you might want to hold your pen a little bit closer to your chest on this one. I would like you to make a list of your peers. You don't need to list them all, but list 4 or 5 at least. So do that as I talk. Make a list of your peers. And then I would like you to rate the strength of your relationship with those peers, 5 to 1 scale. 5 is, we are best friends. Our families know each other. We hang out. They're fantastic. 4 is, yeah, I like them a lot. We get along well, cooperate well at work. 3 is, yeah, we're fine. We certainly get stuff done together, a good professional colleague. 2 is, we've had some problems, probably don't work together that well. One is, if I see that person walking towards me, I will turn around and walk the other way. So I want you to rate I'm going to give you 15 seconds as I walk over here to get a water. 15 seconds, write down what is your strength of your relationship with your peers. Is it a 5? Best friends? Is it a 1? Walk the other way. Give you a few seconds to do that. So if you did that rating and anyone on that list is a 3 or less, you need to reach out to them and say, hey, I think we need to have a catch-up conversation. If they are a 2 or a 1, here's how you can be the bigger person. You can say, hey, Susie, hey, Sam, I know we haven't always had the best relationship. I would love to restart that and see if we can build something better. Are you willing to sit down, have a cup of coffee with me or a lunch and talk about that? 99% of people are more than happy to do that. Remember, your peers cannot get you promoted, but they can stop you from getting promoted. So I want all of your peer relationships to be a 4 or a 5. If you have that strong relationship with your boss, if you have those strong relationships with your peers, that is going to increase your ability to influence important decisions, both in your group, but also outside your group, because you've just built a support team. You've built 5 or 10 or 15 people who are going to say good things about you, who are going to support you when you go to ask other people for cash, for investments, for their time. Build better talent faster. Now, I know not all of you are in HR, even if you're not. People who build better talent faster are valuable in the organization. I will pay more for people who do this than people who don't do this, because they are adding to the positive investment that I'm making in the company. We have a framework around this that we've taught for years and years. It's called the talent production line. A talent production line says, we know, collectively, all of us, we know how to build people. We understand what it takes to do that well. We have all the tools. A lot of you have the technology, or we'll learn more about it over the next day or two. You have the mindset around it. We know how to do this. And if you do it well, you probably build talent the same way that you would build anything else. You have a disciplined, structured production process. You have a lean production mindset. No waste, no slack. What does waste mean in this context? Waste would be if you're trying to develop people who aren't high potential or who aren't going to grow. You're kind of throwing away your dollars on that. Slack means if you have the ability in your company to grow 100 leaders a year or 1,000 leaders a year, but you're only putting a few people through those processes. That means slack. You have the ability to grow so many more great leaders, but you're not doing it. So if you are actually building a great talent production line, here's what you're doing. You are saying, we know what the few things are that differentiate great talent, either in my group, in my company. You are clear in the specifications. Before you build something, you have specifications. What are we trying to build? Now, what I'm not talking about here is the laundry list of 50 competencies. We all have that in our company. Some consultant was paid a lot of money to produce a very thick booklet that nobody ever opens. What I care about is, what are the 3 things, what are the 4 things that truly will differentiate success in your company? Because that's what you want to build. You certainly want to build good corporate citizens, that's fine. But what you really want is more of the few valuable elements that are going to differentiate success in your company going forward. So first, are you clear on specifications? Second, if you're going to build something, you look at the raw materials that you have to build it with. In this case, it's the talent in your organization, and you ask 2 basic questions there. The first question is, do we have regular high-quality discussions to assess the people in our company and understand how far and how fast they're going to move? Many of you likely do. You probably call them talent reviews or something similar. That's the easy part. The hard part of this question is, How predictively accurate are those conversations? In other words, if you say that Susie will move up 2 levels in 5 years, how often does Susie actually move up 2 levels in 5 years? So in this raw materials piece, 2 questions. Do we have regular high-quality conversations to assess how far and how fast people will move in our organization? And how accurate are we when we make those calls? If you're not accurate, you're putting the wrong people on that talent production line. Third place, actually producing talent. 3 questions you want to ask yourself here. First is, do we actually know how to produce what we specified? So if you said, oh, we want to build general managers, okay, great. Do you know how to build a general manager? You might say, Mark, absolutely, we moved them from a small region to a medium region to headquarters to a large region. Great, you know how to do it. Second question, do you have enough of the machinery to make that happen? So if you said, yes, Mark, we moved them from a small region to a medium region to headquarters, but if you only have 1 medium region in your company, you just created a production bottleneck. So do you have enough of the production equipment to make it happen? And final question, if you know how to build the talent and you have the machinery to build the talent, is are you actually building the talent? Are you moving people through those processes in a way that produces more, better quality talent faster? So specifications, raw materials, production. Finally, can you get people to where they're needed in your company? Pre-COVID, this was easy. You said, you're going over here. And people said, thank you, I will go over there. Now people say, oh, I don't really like it over there. Is there anywhere else I could go? I'm not sure I want to stick around. Far more difficult question. The key questions for you in distribution. 1, is there anything keeping talent from going where you want them to go? Are there any barriers in your company that would slow down talent movement in your organization? The second is there anything that your managers are doing that prevent people from moving? And that typically sounds like, oh, I would give you Susie, but she's on a special project right now. Then the next year it's, oh, I would give you Susie, but I think she's my successor. And pretty soon Susie's in the same job and that production line just keeps going up and down. She doesn't get any better. So a talent production line says we know what we are trying to build. We understand how to pick the right raw material. We understand how to produce that talent once we do, and we can get that finished product, that great quality talent, to who actually needs it. So let's see how well you're doing at this. We'll do a public show of hands on this one. 5 to 1 scale. 5 is, at our company, we are world class. We cannot wait to tell our friends and family how great we are at doing that particular thing. 1 is, you are horrible. You hang your head in shame at how bad your company is at that particular process. You can fill in the blanks in between. So we're going to do a show of hands audit, which means that when I call out the number, you are going to raise your hand if that's where your company is. Let's start, whoops, back up. Let's start here. Specifications. In your company, are you clear about the few things that differentiate a great leader going forward? Raise your hand if you're at a 5 on that. Raise your hand if you're at a 5. 4? Couple of hands. Who's at a 3? A few more. 2? 1? I'm not seeing as many hands as I should. Everyone needs to vote. I can see those of you who are doing this. Second, raw materials. We have regular conversations about our talent, and we're relatively accurate. You're never going to be perfectly accurate, but we're relatively accurate at selecting great talent. Raise your hand if you're at a 5. Couple? 4? 3? Everybody has to vote. 2? 1? Kind of a 3 average, a lot of variability. Production. We know how to build what we specified. We have the machinery, the education, the experiences, the exposure to build the talent, and we actually take the effort to build the talent. Who's at a 5? Not too many hands. Who's at a 4? A few more. 3? Lots of 3s. 2? A few more. 1. Okay, finally, can you get that talent to where it's needed, either around the company or around the globe? Nothing really stands in the way of getting talent to where you want it to be. Who's at a 5? 4, 3, 2, lots of 2s. 1. Okay, I have done this little exercise probably 500 times. You are basically at the global average, kind of a 3, a 3, a 2, and a 2. Here's the good news. If you say either I'm not particularly good at this or my company is not particularly good at this, I get to work with clients every week who are at a 5 on at least one of those, and they're not any smarter than you are, and they don't work any harder than you do, and they don't have any bigger budgets or any fancier technology than you do. The thing that allows those companies to be a 5 on at least one of these is flawless execution of the basics. Flawless execution of the basics. Fancier processes do not deliver fancier results. The people who do this well understand we're going to come up with a basic process for understanding what our differentiating capabilities are, assessing people, developing people. But they execute the heck out of that. They have discipline, they have accountability for their leaders to actually do it, and they recognize that a simple process, flawlessly executed, is the secret to their success. So in short, when we look at what differentiates great HR leaders in the future, first, you have that high performers mindset. You understand that you might need to work more hours, sacrifice a bit, and realize that you're always competing against somebody. On top of that, you understand how to build that talent production line, either within your group or within your company. You know how to build better talent faster. You know and you love your business. You understand how you make things, how you sell things, but you really enjoy the fact that you're a part of that making and a part of that selling. You understand how to build the relationships that influence. You understand that, well, we don't want you to be a kiss up to your boss. We do want you to have a very good relationship with your boss. She or he should understand that you care about them. You want good things to happen to them. You're going to ask about their weekends. You're going to ask about their kids. You're going to ask them out to have a cup of coffee. And the same thing with your peers. You're going to make sure that your peer relationships are at least strong, if not very strong. And anyone that is not, you're going to take action on quickly. So there's a big, scary, changing world out there ahead of us. I guarantee you, if all of us become better at those 3 things, you're going to be far better positioned for success than you ever have been. So I wish you a great enjoyment of the rest of the conference. I wish I could participate. I always speak. I don't get to go out and have fun with the people out there and with you. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you later in the day.